Welcome to Interviews with Innocence, a podcast about spirituality, consciousness, and exploring the wisdom our children bring into this world. I believe that our very young children are our greatest teachers. After all, they're the masters of living in the present moment, bubbling in unconditional love, enjoying the messiness of life, and curious about the universe in all its dimensions. The pure essence that young children exhibit lives within all of us. My hope is that these interviews will help us discover, embrace, and connect with the sacred core of childhood that resides within each of our hearts. I am your host, Marla Hughes. Today, I have back on the show Rosemary Altea. I am so excited, Rosemary, to have you back on the show. And as a child growing up in Leicester, England, Rosemary heard voices and saw otherworldly faces, making her life extremely difficult. She became an outcast from her 5 siblings and parents who didn't understand her. It was only in her early 30s that she finally embraced her psychic abilities and with her spirit guide, Great Eagle, learned to hone and perfect her talents. It wasn't long before Rosemary gained notoriety, traveling the globe to spread the word about life after death. I would say one of her priorities, but now I know her main priority is working with children, both here on earth and the spirit world. She loves nothing more than to bring families together to give them comfort, healing, hope, and joy. And Rosemary was on the last 2 episodes, and you can go back and read more of her bio in those interviews. So today, what I'm really excited about, I haven't really done this before, is that Rosemary has a beautiful no, it's not really a webinar, but when she goes on different platforms and does story time. And one day I was out hiking with my dogs, and I was listening to story time. And she told a story that just really changed my life. I've got to be really honest about this. And I don't say that lightly. It changed my life. And the story is called I See You. So with that, Rosemary, and of course it is a true story. With that, Rosemary, welcome to the program. And I'm going to let you take it over from here.
Thank you so much. Well, if I can say, first of all, yes, my priority is children, both here on this earth and also in the spirit world. I think personally, as a mother, and perhaps I think you'll agree with me, I think that the loss of a child probably is, for me, the worst loss that any of us can endure. So I find it very important to always be able to be able to connect with children, and especially those children in the spirit world who need my voice. So this story begins, and I always start my stories with once upon a time. So once upon a time, it was a fair while ago. I was in England, and as a teacher, I had a class. At my small study was filled with my students. There were probably about 12 of them in all. And we never quite knew what was going to happen. We never quite knew what the spirit world was going to bring to us. I never really planned very much as a teacher because I'm always inspired by my spirit guide, Great Eagle. And so as we always did, we would sit very quietly. I would always say my prayer of protection. And then we would sit and wait to see what would happen. And as we're sitting waiting, everybody's quiet and anticipating. And it was probably around this time. It was perhaps just before Christmas time. So we're all anticipating what might be in store for us. And suddenly I heard giggling. And I looked around the room and couldn't see anything at first. And then the giggling came again. And finally I saw, and when I say I saw, I mean in my way, I saw a group of children from the spirit world who were standing in the center of our little group, and they were giggling and excited and waiting for me to talk to them. There were some of them maybe from anywhere from 3 to 6, 7, 8 years old or something. So I remember saying to them, hello, and who are you all? And they giggled again, and my spirit guide, Greg, put his hand on my shoulder, and he said to me that the children had come perhaps to teach us something or to show us something. So as I'm big on kids always, and always love to communicate with kids, I was sort of excited too. So I gathered the children to me and I said to them, so, the floor is yours. What would you like to do? And so they began. And there was an older boy who was the spokesperson. And he looked to all of the students, and I explained to all of the students, we've got a group of children here. I don't know if you can see them or hear them, but I certainly can. And they've come to tell us something. So everyone was excited. So this young boy, maybe 7 or 8 years old, he looked at me first of all, and then he pointed to one of the students, a lady who was actually there with her husband, who was also a student, and he pointed to them. And basically, he was talking and I was relaying his words because the students couldn't hear him, but I could hear him very clearly. So he pointed to this lady and her husband, and he said, we see you. We saw you painting the bedroom. We saw you, and he pointed to the lady, we saw you painting the windowsill. We thought you were doing a really good job. But then, and he pointed to the husband, he said, then we saw you, and we hear you, and you were mean, and you were shouting. And he pointed to this lovely lady, and you were crying because he was mean to you and shouting at you. And we see you, and we don't like you anymore. Could have heard a pin drop in the room, of course. He then went on to another couple. We see you. We hear you. We see you crying. We know you lost your boy. He's with us. He's here with us. He wants to say hello, but he's not here with us tonight. But we see you. And he pointed to this lovely lady. Her name was Lynn. He said, we see you crying. And he said to her husband, Peter, we see you crying too, but you don't cry together. And you must cry together. We see you and we hear you. We don't like the crying. We don't like to see you cry. Then he went to another lady, and suddenly he became very stern, this little boy, and all the children gathered closely around. We see you. We saw you the other day with your girls. We saw you. You made them clean the toilet outside. And you were screaming, and you were raging, and you were really mean to them. And you kept shouting at them, and they were crying. We watched you. We see you. We hear you. And we don't like you anymore. On and on around the room, this went. The children giving a message to every student in the room. We see you. We hear you. We saw you being mean to the dog. We hear you. We see you. We don't like you anymore. And each student in turn, as the children showed them how they could see, each student in turn hung their heads in shame. It's very easy, the children were telling us, it's very easy for us to think that nobody watches us with our bad behavior. We do it behind closed doors very often. You know, we're mean to our family. Who do we shout at the most? We shout at our husband or our wife. We occasionally kick the dog or whatever it is we do. But we do it because, hey, nobody can see us anyway. So nobody can see us. And these children were very clear. We see you, we hear you, and we don't like you anymore. Now, I like to think that what they were saying was not, we shall never like you again. Right. What they were saying was, we don't like your behavior. We don't like your meanness. When you are mean or when you are cruel, we don't like you. We don't like to see that. And so on and on around the room, all giggling on from the children. They went around the room and gave each of the students a message. I have to be honest and tell you, I was very grateful they didn't come to me. And I'm thinking, what did I do this week? Because I know I'm not perfect either. But it shone a light. It shone a light on the fact that, you know, I do a Thursday show, Marla, as I know you know. It's called The Spirit World Sees All. And it's scary because they really do. And we have a tendency so often to forget that. But these children shone a light. They shone a light on our behavior. They shone a light. They're giving the description of exactly what happened. These two girls, they were 13 and 14 years old, and their mother, for whatever reason, had made them go outside with a bucket and soapy water and a scrubbing brush, and had made them scrub and clean the outside toilet. They lived in an old house, but it was a punishment, I think, or just something, you know, I'm not going to do it. I've got these two girls, they can do it. But for whatever reason, she was screaming at them and raving at them and berating them. Something you never saw her do whenever she was with me under ordinary circumstances. And I knew these girls well. I've always said to people, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. You don't see what goes on behind closed doors. To the spirit world, I have to tell you, whether you like to hear it or not, there are no closed doors. They in the spirit world, and our beloved children in the spirit world, our beloved children in the spirit world, they see, they hear, and they know us very, very well. I often say when our angels look at us, sometimes when our angels look at us, I know they look at us with sadness. I never see them look at us with judgment, but only with sadness. And these children only ever looked at us with sadness. They weren't judging us. We are human after all. We've all kicked the dog sometimes. Well, maybe not, but you know what I'm saying. We've all done things sometimes that were not so nice. But this particular night when these children came, and I will always remember their words, we see you and we don't like you anymore. It was a lesson for my students. It was a lesson for me. I hope. I know that when you heard that story, you said it changed your life. I hope that people will hear that story and perhaps pay a little bit more attention, be a little bit more kind, be a little bit more understanding. We are human with our human faults and failings, so we'll all fail from time to time. But I know the spirit world are watching. I know when I say something that isn't quite nice, I think, oops, oh no, they've heard, they've seen. They see us very clearly. And I think that it's important for all of us to bear the responsibility of being the best that we can, so that our beloved children in the spirit world can look at us and say, she's not so nice sometimes, but we like her a lot. I think that's all we can hope for. So I told that story. Oh, I have to say the end, because as I tell my grandson, we have to start once upon a time and we always have to finish the story at the end. But I tell my stories, at story time on Saturday mornings. And if anyone's interested, of course, you can go to my YouTube channel or my Facebook, wherever it is. And you can hear lots and lots and lots of stories. I told a story the other day about my first child patient, Mark. Oh, heartbreaking, but breathtaking and wonderful stories. There are some fantastic stories. So really, thank you, Marla, for the opportunity of me telling that story. And I hope I haven't, upset too many people. I hope whatever you've done, or whatever you said this morning, you can start from now, right? You can start from now and just moving forward. Think to yourself, okay, they are watching. I better behave myself.
and I'm sure that they are very forgiving. And
oh, absolutely. Yes, without a doubt.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, Rosemary, thank you so much. So Thursday, just tell us one more time when you do your shows and how people can reach you.
Oh, right. Well, on a Thursday morning, I always do a Thursday show, which is, what is it? The Spirit World Sees All, which of course it does. And that is 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And on Saturdays, pretty much every Saturday, I have a story time, again, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find me on, we do it via Restream, which I love, because it means you do a one-shot thing. It goes to Restream and then they stream it out. So you can find it on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and there is and LinkedIn. You can find them all there. But if you want to know more, or you want to be absolutely certain that you're on the right track, you can go to my website, which is all one word, rosemaryaltea.com, and click on the link there. And if you click, it says subscribe. Don't have to pay a thing. You just click on subscribe, and you will be automatically put on my email list. So if you go to my Facebook page, rosemaryaltea.com, it's all one word, and if you click on subscribe, you'll automatically be put on my mailing list. I promise we don't send emails out all the time. We won't inundate you, but there are also lots of little videos and stories. There are little videos of some of my webinars. We've just started doing webinars, and we're doing a wonderful webinar at Christmas time, because I know that this is coming out at Christmas. We're doing a wonderful webinar, Conversations with Angels, and I'm going to tell about my experiences, and I'm going to tell people how you too can discover your angels and how to listen to them. Wow. I'm so excited about that, because it's Christmas, and for me, Christmas is all about, that sort of thing. Yeah. So you can find me all over the place. But again, if you would like to email me, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com, we can send you all that information.
Great. And all of this will be in the show notes also. Well, thank you, Rosemary, so much. And for our listeners, Rosemary will be back again, and she'll be taking questions from listeners about the spirit world, and maybe
anything,
about anything. So we don't have that date yet, but we'll stay tuned, and I'll definitely be announcing that. So,
and let me just say, I love that interaction with people. So I'm excited about that.
Me too. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and what a lovely story. And you take care and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. You too. Have a very blessed rest of the day.
You too. Thanks. Thank you so much for listening in today. If you want to learn more about the show, you can find us at interviewswithinnocence.com and on Facebook or Instagram at Interviews with Innocence. Please write me a message, tell me what you liked, and let me know what else you would like to hear. I would love to hear from you. And if you liked what you heard, please leave us an iTunes rating and review. It helps other listeners find the show. Thank you.